Welcome to this Applivery tutorial where we will see how Applivery app distribution works and its main features. In this tutorial we will see how private app stores work, and how apps can be displayed within the app stores through multiple distribution lanes. First, let's go to the Stores section of the dashboard. App stores in Applivery can be private or public. Private app stores will require authentication to get access to the list of apps, while public ones will display the list of apps without any authentication required. In this section you will also be able to configure your custom domain name, see your QR code and App Store URL, and see the entire list of published apps in your App Store and their configurations. Let's get started by scanning the App Store QR code. It will lead us to the App Store homepage. Since it has been configured as a private app store, the authentication screen will be displayed. App stores support many types of authentication, from single sign-on to a built-in authentication using the Applivery users directory. Note that app stores are entirely translated into 15 different languages. By default, and if available, it will use the user's default language, but it can be also selected by the user. For the purpose of this demo, we will opt for the second authentication option by entering our credentials in the form. Once inside, users will see only the apps they have been authorized to see based on their permissions, the groups they belong to, and based on the operating system. Published apps can be displayed one by one or grouped by project. At the top of the screen, there's a search box that can be used to search across the list of apps. It will take into consideration the name of the app, but also some additional metadata such as environments, tags or branches. Installing an app is as simple as click in a publication and then click Install. The app will start installing in background. In the meantime, and depending on the operative system, iOS or Android, and the type of certificate used to sign the app, a friendly tutorial will be displayed, explaining the user the steps that should be done in order to open the app. Since Applivery enables powerful web-based app stores, they can also be added as web apps into the home screen by going to Share and then tap Add to Home Screen. As you can see, it does not require any installation process. When adding Applivery as an app, it will help the users have a direct access to the apps they use most often through a full screen interface, instead of the web browser. Now, let's talk about users' permissions. As mentioned before, Applivery supports profile-based authentication that will help you control which applications each user can see. Now we are using Tomas's account and we can see 3 publications in the App Store, one public, one private, identified with the purple user icon, and one password protected, the one with the yellow key. Note that each publication can be fully customized, not only at authentication level but also the look and feel, the information that is displayed, such as the history of builds or repository information, and much more. Let's make some changes in Tomas's account to enable some additional apps in his App Store. As you can see, there's an app called Sales Assistant that is private and limited to the group of users number 1. We will jump to the People section, where users' permissions are managed, and edit Tomas's account by adding him a new user group. When refreshing the App Store, Tomas will now get access to the new app, since now he belongs to Group 1 as well. Now let's take a look at how apps are published in the App Store. We will go back to the App section, select an app and go to the Distribution tab. Here's where you can configure how each app will be represented into your App Store. When clicking the New Publication button, a list of options will be displayed. Builds, that allows to create a publication that points to 2 specific builds or version in your repository, one for iOS and one for Android. Tag, that allows to create a publication pointing to the last version available that matches a given tag or list of tags. Git tag, that allows to create a publication pointing to the last version available that matches a given Git tag, for example release candidate 1. Git branch, that allows to create a publication pointing to the last version available that matches a given Git branch, for example, develop or master. And the last one called last, that allows to create a publication pointing to the very last version that has been uploaded for iOS and Android. With all those options, the possibilities are endless. For each publication, there are many configurations that you can also apply. Visibility, that determines if the publication will be inactive, disabled, active, enabled, or unlisted, which means that will not be listed in the App Store home screen and users will only be able to access if you know the URL. Security, that determines the authentication requirements. Can be public, private, that also allows you to choose which user groups will have access by combining logic operators. Or password protected, that will require a generic password for all users. In addition, there are many other options that can be configured such as the history of builds, repository information, terms and conditions and some customizations that will overwrite your default App Store settings for this specific publication. Let's see how easy it is to create a new publication. Just click New Publication and then choose one of the options. In this case, let's use the Builds option. After configuring the URL, visibility and security, it's just a matter of choosing one build from each operative system and click Save. Now let's see another example of an unlisted app. As mentioned before, unlisted apps are not visible in the home page of the App Store and only can be accessed if you know the URL. In this case, we will see how the secret app publication has been configured by combining unlisted and password options. This is really useful for those cases where you want to avoid users' registration or authentication and just share an app with some stakeholders. When navigating to the URL, the users will be prompted with the password protection form. Once introduced the correct password, the users will be able to access and install the app without any additional step. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. Remember that you can find all the Applivery documentation at applivery.com/docs and additional help resources at applivery.com/help. Thank you for trusting us.